Hello, folks. Friends, I'd like to start today with the hope that is in Psalms 126, that others will hear our laughter and know that the Lord has done great things for us. Now, most of you have heard me tell Bible stories. You may have attended an Easter sunrise service or two for the past 6 years, some of you. I'm real glad to have you watching here online. For those of you who haven't been to the old pasture playhouse here, as we call it, this whole storytelling thing started with a Sunday school class, and then COVID, it kind of blew up on me. I was real excited that people wanted to hear my stories, but I found myself longing for something I've sought out my entire life: laughter. I love telling Bible stories, and I hope you get a chance to hear them all. Today, though, it's real important that you realize one thing. That Bible storyteller, that dude ain't here today. I feel strongly that if you ain't laughing, then you ain't living. Today, I put on my red storytelling hat, also known as my liar's hat. And you're going to hear a heart-thumping, knee-knocking, toe-tingling, mind-blowing bunch of lies. Mind-blowing story like never heard before. I hope you enjoy it. Now, I grew up in the hills of Tennessee, listening to some of the greatest storytellers that ever lived, telling stories that had been told to them and their parents and their grandparents, and each generation would put their own spin on it, and it changed just a little. I learned something very important from those men. As you get older and your memory starts to fade, it's okay just to kick back and let your imagination just take over and fill in any holes in the story. I call these my Izaboy stories because it seems like they always start and end with the same phrase. Well, back when I was a boy. Now I know you've heard that phrase before or something like it from some old dude. Well, today that old dude is personified by one Tennessee hillbilly. Me. This is my story of one day long ago. Way back deep in those Tennessee hills. I'm talking back so deep in those hills you had to bring your own daylight when you come to visit us. Folks, allow me to transport you to the place I grew up, a place called Haywood Holler. Now, this story happened one date long ago when I was a boy. I reckon I was near about 8 years old. Not quite a full-grown man, but well on the way by hill folk standards. It was early in the morning on a cold winter morning, and I was engaged at two of my favoriteest things to do. One, sleeping. Man. Two, dreaming of sweet Cootie Lou McGoo, who lived 2 hollers over. Now, Cootie Lou was one of them pretty little white-haired girls. I'm sure you've all known one like her at some point. That gal that came around and made all the boys change instantly. You know what I mean by change? Boys go like this. Somebody say, "Here come Cootie Lou." And the boys would all go, "Hi, Cootie." Make you change quick. But I tell you, here I was that morning in dreamland, just about to impress Cootie Lou with my one-handed tree climbing skills, when all of a sudden my pappy rousted me out of dreamland. It was a cold, snowy winter morning, and he woke me with a gentle shake and said, "Meet me out front." Now, right off, I knowed something was wrong, because Pappy usually just grabbed the mattress and flipped it over like an old bear getting grub worms out from under a log. Ah! You ever been jolted out of a warm bed by a grizzly bear snarling? You wake up quick and paying attention. A little confusion, but you wake up quick. Anyway, the gentle wake up was my cue that something was wrong. So I got up, got dressed, joined Pappy outside. Now, it was still mostly dark. I could make him out there in the pale light of daybreak, right at the edge of the yard, just standing there slumped over looking down. looking down at the ground. I tiptoed up beside him and looked down to see what he was looking at. There in the fresh snow was a set of rabbit tracks heading off in the woods. Pappy looked at me and pointed down and said, "At the end of those tracks is our supper, son." Now, it was nearing the end of a long, cold winter. Food was getting plumb scarce. So I knew what this prideful man was telling me. Me being the eldest man-child and him getting up in his years, he had to be at least 29 or 30. It now fell to me to feed the family. If I didn't come through on this hunt, family's gonna go hungry. Shoot, might even starve to plumb to death. I don't want to starve to death. Besides, I love rabbit. It is so delicious. No meat is better. Any way it's cooked. Fried, boiled, roasted, stewed, grilled, fricasseed. It doesn't matter. I love me some rabbit. What's more, I love to hunt. So win-win. I put on an extra set of clothes for layers, gathered up the old family rifle, took the 2 bullets down, put them in my pocket. My hunting tote sack would have a twine string so I could wear it around my shoulder. I checked everything twice, and I was ready to go. Well, just now, when I said 2 bullets, I know some of you kind of looked at me a little wumpy-eyed. I'll be honest. I bought a box of 50 bullets back during the fall, last time we went to town, but I done used up 48 of them practicing. Practicing not being bored. Anyway, I put one of those bullets in the gun, put one in my pocket, and bip bam boom off out of my room. I went a following that rabbit. I hadn't gone 100 yards, and daggone it, got a rock in my boot, right up twixt my little pinky toe in the side of my boot. Now, not wanting to get a blister and ruin my hunt, I sat down on a stump and pulled off my boot. As I shook that boot, I heard something. I thought, what is in my boot? I shook it again and nothing. Well, I started to put it on and I heard it again. I knew. As a turkey a-gobbling. Ooh-wee. Now, wild turkey and a pot pie, that's near about good as a rabbit. And to boot, I was close enough to the house. I could shoot this turkey, get back in bed, and get back to sweet Cootie Lou before everybody knew I was gone. So I started looking around. Shh. Look left, and I looked right. There. High up above me, in a big old scaly bark hickory, I seen them. There was 1, 2, 3. Carry the 1, drop the 0. Ooh, there was 8 wild turkeys just lined up there on a limb, still roosting. I tried to slip my boot on, and I guess I accidentally brushed the trigger because that rifle said, BAM! Man, went off unexpected like. That bullet hit smack dab at the bullet of that base of that very limb those turkeys were sitting on, splat. And when I say hit it, I mean to tell you, it clipped that limb loose from the tree, clean as a whistle, but it didn't fall. Between that bullet splatting that limb and the noise of that gun going off in the early morning woods, them turkeys all kind of freaked out. It scared them so bad they clenched up their feet and dug their toenails into the bark of that limb so deep they couldn't get them out. They all went to flapping their wings and squawking and carrying on trying to get away. And slowly, that limb full of 16 flapping turkey wings synced up, and they started to lift. Up, 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 and away they flew. Tree limb and all. If I'm lying, I'm dying. It ain't a pain in my chest. I just stood there with my naked teeth hanging out, shocked by what I had just seen. Well, shock was over pretty sudden like. It was replaced by anger. Ooh, I was madder than a Dominica rooster choking on a cuckleburr. I stood there on 1 foot watching them turkey pot pies just fly away, taking my hopes of seeing Cootie Lou again with a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Couldn't bear to watch it, so I just stomped my foot down in my boot, glared down, and focused on them rabbit tracks. Anger became resolve, and boogity, 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 off I went following that rabbit. Well, rabbit tracks went up over the top of Little Mountain Hill, straight down into Hogwaller Holler. I'm here to tell you folks, the backside of that hill was straight down. By now, I was kind of thinking how I don't really like rabbit that much as I looked down that slope. It was straight down steep and slick as a wet Walmart floor with that new snow on it. I took one itty bitty step toward the edge for a better look. Ooh-wee! Zipping down that mountain I went, slipping and sliding, held it, rifle holding it up high so it wouldn't hit anything, dodging rocks and trees, bouncing off others. Man, I was straddling a fine line. You know what I'm talking about, that line twixt having fun and breaking your fool neck. But hey, fun is fun, and I was back in a good mood when I got to the bottom and stopped sliding, standing in Hogwaller Holler. Well, excuse me, I was bent over catching my breath. Remembered I plumb forgot to reload my rifle, so I reached in my pocket for that other bullet, and I looked. I heard the loudest, most awful racket behind me that I ever heard. I spun around, looked up behind me, half expecting to see one of them avalanches I'd heard about in National Geographic. Instead, what I seen nearly made my eyes pop clean out of my head. Up there on that ridge was a big old razorback boar hog fighting with a full-grown black bear. Ooh, man, they was growling and snapping with hair and slobber and blood just flying. Oh, Lord. I tell you, I couldn't tell who had the lard and who had the grease, folks. It was hard to determine who was trying to eat who. They was both fighting like they're starving. If I'm lying, I'm flying. Both my feet are flat on the ground. They was both mad. Neither one was interested in trying to get away. They was pawing and kicking and throwing up ground. Looked like a white tornado with all that fresh snow whirling around. They fought right up next to the edge of that ridge, and whoop, off the rim together they went. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Slipping, sliding, biting, and nipping boogity down that hill they come a-tumbling. Every time one of them would tumble, he thought the other one was winning the fight, and he'd start fighting harder. I threw back my head and laughed out loud. But only for a second. That's about how long it took for me to realize that ball of snarling, snapping, scratching fur was heading straight at me. Suddenly, I was so scared, I forgot about my gun. My favorite empty gun. So I did exactly what anyone would naturally do in such a situation. I screamed. Ah! I screamed, then I stuck my hand out to try to protect myself. You know what I mean? Kind of like a Heisman Trophy pose. Well, it just so happened they tumbled just right, and my arm went straight into that roaring bear's mouth. I mean, it went straight down his throat so fast, my hand went plumb out his other end. So naturally, I just grabbed his tail and give it a good strong yank. Didn't know my own strength. I snatched him plumb inside out. Yes, sir. I done killed, cleaned, and skinned him all in one snatch. Well, taking that bear out of the equation made no immediate improvement on my situation. Fact is, it got rapidly worse, because it seemed that old razorback boar hog was still mad. There wasn't no bear to fight, so he turned his attention to me. I jumped, put a hickory tree between him and me, and started doing the dance of sorrow. I'd go left, he'd go, I'd go right, he'd go right. We danced around and round 3 times. He slashed at me and got his big old tush stuck in that tree bark. I saw a chance. I leaned around that tree with that rifle and bam! My butt stroked him right in the fontanelle. fontanel's a fancy word for that soft spot in the middle of the skull. Ooh, pig suey. It dropped him like a bad habit, graveyard dead. I mean, killed him. After a minute to catch my breath, I picked up that boar hog and I put him in my sack. Then I picked up that bear and I put him in my sack. Guess what I did next? I loaded that dadgum rifle, that's what I did. And off I went, following those darn rabbit tracks. Which, although I'll eat it, I really don't even care for rabbit meat. Too dry and chewy for me. Well, I trailed that rabbit right up to the spot where he crossed Knob Creek. Now, after taking off my boots and wading across that icy creek, I built a fire to warm up my frozen feet. I was near freezing, trying to get a rabbit. And everybody knows me well, knows I hate the taste of rabbit. But I was sitting there on that creek bank by that fire, slowly warming up. I heard a noise from upstream. Hank! I leaned over and looked up the creek. There was 5 of them big old Canadian geese swimming in a line, nose to tail, just easing on downstream. I slowly picked up my rifle. I heard another noise from downstream. I leaned over and looked down. I seen 5 mallard ducks swimming right on upstream. While I was deciding which one of them I wanted to shoot at with my last bullet, I heard another sound. This sound I instantly recognized, and it struck terror in my body. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, Lord. Tick, 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 tick. I slowly looked down. There's about a 7-foot-long diamondback rattlesnake, big around as my right leg, coiled up there right by my naked feet. Up jumped the devil. I done accidentally built my fire right on the top of a rattlesnake den and thawed him out. I don't mind admitting, I may have panicked just a little bit. I instantly whipped that gun around and snapped off a shot at the hip. Point blank, boom! Now, folks, this is where my story gets a little hard to believe. Yeah, you've probably been wondering where this story would really hit just rock bottom, really start to sound a little hard to believe. This is it. Unbeknownst to me, my rifle gun stock had been cracked back there when I skull smacked that boar hog. Now, when I shot at that snake, it set off a chain of events. The bullet exits the barrel, hits that snake square in the head, made him stretch out, straight as a nail and stiff as a board. That part went according to plan, but I didn't know it, because when I pulled that trigger, that broken gun just exploded into 2 pieces, me losing my grip on both of them. That little explosion caused me to do a 1.5 backwards gainer into that cold Knob Creek. The barrel flies up the creek, whoo, 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 smacks those 5 geese right across their necks, dropped them stone cold dead right there in the creek. The stock of my gun pew, pew, flies down the creek, wick, 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 bust those ducks upside the head, killed all 5 of them dead as doornails. I didn't get to see all that, because I was trying to keep from drowning. Now, I knowed Knob Creek wasn't but just about waist deep, but for some reason, I couldn't stand up. When I finally crawled out of the water, I realized why. My overalls was filled up with water and had nearly 26 pounds of catfish swimming around in them. I was finally able to stand up, and as I was wiping the water out of my eyes, the weight of those fish popped one of my buttons off my overalls and sent it flying. That button goes zipping off into the bushes and bing! Hit that dadgum rabbit right between the eyes. Killed him center of the graveyard dead. Oh, I was so excited. I shouted, "I got you, you flea-bit, long-eared, carrot-eating, buck-toothed varmint." If I'm lying, I'm crying. Ain't a tear in my eyes. I shook myself off, caught my breath, got my boots back on. I got them 5 geese, put them in my sack. Got them 5 mallard ducks, I put them in my sack. Then I got that big old rattler, put him in my sack. They good eating. Then I got that rabbit, and I put him in my sack. Oh yeah, them fish, I just left them in my overalls swimming around, stay fresh till I could get them home and clean them. Speaking of getting home, I was dreading that walk through them hills with that heavy tote sack. However, I knew every journey started with one step. I had to take it. So I put out my fire, picked up my gun barrel, figured I'd whittle another stock later, strapped that tote sack across my back, and I got ready to head home. I hadn't taken 2 steps, and I heard a racket. Looked around behind me, and there was a tree falling on me. Closer look showed that tree wasn't falling. It was just drifting overhead, being piloted along by 8 wild turkeys. Well, I naturally just jumped up, grabbed that limb, and yoink, away I went. Up over the treetops, like one of them fancy crop dusting pilots. I was flying along, admiring the beautiful snow-colored view of the hills from way up there. Head in the distance on my right, I could see Haywood Holler waiting on me. Excuse my manners. Now, these turkeys were going to fly me straight on the cane tuck if I didn't do something, so I reached up and grabbed a handful of feathers out of that turkey on the left and yanked them out. Off to the right, we veered toward home. I steered us on into the hollow by yanking feathers, some on the left, some on the right. Just a little bit, when I gently landed in our yard, them 8 wild turkeys was cleaned and plucked, ready to cook. I took a minute, chopped the limb they was carrying up for firewood. Now the family heard that and came out. Glad to see me, greet me, help me process all that fish and game. Pappy was so proud of me that day. I had left with only 2 bullets, and I had come home with 8 wild turkeys, a black bear, a razorback boar hog, 5 Canadian geese, 5 mallard ducks, a 7-foot rattlesnake, 26 pounds of catfish, a rabbit, enough meat for the rest of the winter, along with plenty of firewood to keep the fire going. Pappy looked at me. I'll never forget the words he said. It wasn't, "Good job, son," or "I love you, son," or "You saved the family." No, sirree. He looked back at me and he said, "Pretty good hunt, son. But there was one time, back when I was a boy." Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tale. I hope to post a few more before treatments affect my voice. If not, I'll see you in the spring, cancer-free. I love you all. Remember, love one another. It's so easy to do, even when it's not. Thank you for watching.